If there is radiation there, just remember, decrease the amount of time spent in the area with the radiation. Distance is our best. Doubling the distance from a radiation source divides the dose by a factor of 4. So the further we get away from it, the less we get. Maximum distance shield. Toxicity, degree to which a substance causes harm within the body is called toxicity. Irritant gases such as chlorine, ammonia, they can, for example, produce localized toxic effects in the respiratory tract. We talked a little bit the other day about pesticides. Many of the pesticides absorb through the skin, end up with seizures, cardiac, pulmonary, other problems. Following exposure to a toxic substance, the likelihood of adverse health effects occurring and the severity of the effects depends on the following: the toxicity of the chemical, the exposure pathway or route, nature and intent of the exposure, and how susceptible the person is with illness or injury. Gotta remember, anybody working in that around a hazardous material need to have the appropriate protection on. Make sure that includes respiratory protection. Some of the following are specific toxic chemical hazards. Asphyxiants, they prevent access for sufficient volumes of oxygen. Simple asphyxiants, and we have chemical asphyxiants. The simple ones are gases that dilute or displace oxygen. The chemical ones are used in terrorist attacks. Again, that's why they'll have those in the bombs and stuff. Irritants. Cause temporary, sometimes severe inflammation of the eyes, skin, respiratory system. Irritants often attack the body's mucous membranes, such as surface of the eyes, the lining of the nose, mouth, throat, lungs. These are the ones that cause convulsions that can kill victims. Carcinogens. That's the ones we know now that cause cancer or are suspected to cause cancer. This disease and complications can occur over many as 10 to 40 years after the exposure. If you watch the hazmat guys, they get an exposure, they get medical checkups all the time to follow to make sure how soon that stuff attacks. Here's a good fact for everybody. You'll probably want to go quit firefighting now. 1 in 3 firefighters will be diagnosed with cancer during their career. Another 45% of firefighters will have cancer diagnosed within 7 years of retirement. US and Australia show firefighters have an elevated risk suffering from leukemia and testicle cancer. Some of the ones known for carcinogens: arsenic, asbestos, benzene, many of the plastics, nickel, polyvinyl chloride, some of the pesticides. Allergens and sensitizers. They can cause allergic reactions in peoples and animals. Common ones for sensitizers and allergens: latex, bleach. Then there's a chemical found in the sap of poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac. Is dinner here yet? I've bored myself to death. I can't even turn the pages.
Only 5.5 more hours.
We're never gonna make it.
It's less than before.
Huh?
It's less than before.
So is anybody getting anything out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty bad when I bore myself. Oh.
Why, what are we talking about?
We're here for what? We're still talking about that whiskey afterwards? Okay, let's go into some biologicals here. There are microorganisms, viruses, bacteria. They can cause severe disabling diseases and illnesses. Many of these hazards can be transferred from blood or other bodily fluids. Remember to always wear your PPE to prevent potential transmission.
What's rickettsias?
What is what?
The bottom. Rickets.
Rickets.
It's this
What's that?
tiny bacteria that goes into your intestines.
Things to avoid.
To avoid.
You don't want
You don't want to get rickets.
Yeah, rickets pretty nasty.
you don't want crickets.
Viruses are the simplest type of microorganisms. They can only replicate themselves in a living cell of their host. Viruses do not respond to antibiotics. Bacteria is a microorganism, single cell organism, causes diseases in people either by invading the tissue or by producing toxins or poisons. Specialized bacteria that lives and multiplies. Ticks, fleas. We got tick season coming up.
Mosquito.
Yeah, mosquitoes, all the fun stuff is coming.
Maybe we're gonna have those this year.
Wouldn't
Got
that
enough
be
water
nice?
everywhere to produce them.
There you go.
What you were talking
There's the castor beans I got at my office.
about. Like ticks without
It
lights.
makes ricin. I don't know how they do it, but you have to chew the seed to get the poison out the way they are there. And I don't know, they boil them or something, somehow they get a gas out of them. And that's what they released in that subway in Japan. It killed a lot of people.
Yeah, Google it.
Did you?
Careful.
Google it.
You can buy them on Etsy for $2.
Well, I should have brought them because I can't remember.
How to make
It was a place where you buy
Etsy,
seeds,
ordering
basic
poison on Etsy.
plant seeds.
Like burpee?
Who sells them? It's a big name.
see if they're really that pretty.
That's gonna drive me nuts, and I ain't got far to go.
Castor oil. Castor oil's not toxic. is it?
Oh, look at them.
They're so pretty.
Makes you vomit.
That looks like a pie.
Doesn't castor oil make you vomit?
Probably. I
Think
would.
so.
Well, they used to give you castor oil so you didn't get worms and stuff.
So it had some toxin in it.
Right, killed them
It would
off.
just clean everything through.
But,
Leave it out.
yeah.
That was the original cleanse.
the flour.
Yeah, that was before they had all the fancy ones. Okay, so, biological hazards here.
That thing can grow up to 10 foot.
What can grow to 10 foot?
Those,
Castor beans.
The
Oh,
castor
those flowers,
beans.
so you can get 10 feet tall?
Yeah, and the leaves are as big as dinner plates, according to Better Home and Garden. Says it right here.
Got anything to liven this class up, I'll take it.
Better
Did you
poisons
go
and
out and
gardens.
gas out?
Well, I'm sure in order to do that, you probably gotta go on to,
I don't want the FBI coming in.
yeah,
I'mAterrorist.com.
oh, there's,
Terrorist Supplies R Us.
what is the name of that book? They talk about it all the time in, if you go to fire investigation class, they talk about it all the time. James Bond of something. And that tells you how to make all those bombs. I wanted to get on there just once to see what it was like, but I said the same thing, I don't want the FBI showing up. I got better things to do.
Isolation of ricinoic acid from castor oil by salt solubility based. Yeah, I'm not gonna go any farther.
Alright, let's go into some diseases considered biological hazards here. Some of the ones we got: tuberculosis, hepatitis B, measles, Ebola, typhoid, malaria. All of those things are biological hazards. This is stuff that, if we have a terrorist attack, this is the stuff you're gonna see, the biological agents that they're gonna use in weapons. Smallpox, botulism, anthrax. That's why I can see more terrorist activity down around wherever there's a lab for animals. If you go to Iowa State, they do have anthrax down there. So I would think that that would be one of the places hit before one of us on the farms up here get it, so. But that's just something we need to look at. Smallpox is a virus, anthrax is a bacteria, botulism is a toxin from the bacteria, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that bacteria. Okay, here's our hazard class. You know, we kinda went through some of this already. That's in the front of the, ERG book. Explosives is the first class. Let's see if we got anything new in here. Explosives may release energy in the form of light, gas, and or heat. An explosion is of any substance or article with the great deal of potential energy that may rapidly expand and release upon activation. So like I said, we're gonna see more of these placards coming through because now we got fireworks. Okay? Now with the new placards, explosive placards list both the division number and the group letter. First responders should pay particular attention to the division number. Okay? Explosives will typically be packaged as solids in individual packages or boxes. However, some explosives are liquid. Primary hazard for explosives are thermal and mechanical. These hazards are manifested with the following conditions. We end up with a blast, pressure wave, shock wave. That's rapidly released gases that create shock waves that travel throughout or outward from the center. As the wave increases in distance, the strength decreases. This blast pressure wave is the primary reason for injuries and damage. The blast pressure wave has a positive and a negative phase, both of which can cause damage. Shrapnel fragmentation, small pieces of debris thrown from the container or the structure that ruptures during the explosion can be thrown over a wide area, great distances, causing personal injury and other types of damage to surrounding structures. Shrapnel fragmentation can result in bruises, punctures, avulsions, parts of the body being torn away. Seismic effect, vibration similar to an earthquake. I can't remember, it's on YouTube. There's a chemical plant, God, was it in New Mexico or Arizona? I can't remember. Somehow somebody was up in the mountain and recorded this when this place blew up, and you could see the shock wave underneath the ground just disturbing everything and coming clear out. It was really cool if you ever get to see it, but like I said, I can't remember the name of it. But that seismic effect, that you can see that coming. When the blast occurs at or near ground level, the air blast creates a ground shock or a crater. The shock wave moves across or underground. They form seismic disturbances. Incendiary thermal effects. That's the fireball that comes out among the burning combustible gases and flammable vapors. The thermal heat fireball is present for a limited time after the explosive event. There's chemical hazards that can, if we have an explosion, we have chemical hazards will probably result from the production of toxic gases and vapors. Explosives may self-contaminate as they age. With this, it increases their sensitivity and instability. How many have heard of these people finding boxes of dynamite in old barns? They dig a hole and they hit a box and there's old dynamite in it. Very unstable. Okay? So this is what they're kind of talking about here. High sensitivity to shock and friction. that kinda shows you how they divide that class up. So 1.1 will be your dynamite. 1.2 is detonation cord. 3 is liquid fueled rocket motors. 4 is caps, igniters. That's where your fireworks fit in 1.4. 1.5 is your ammonium nitrate fertilizer. And then your 1.6 is your low military weapons. You guys should have went to fire school when Shepard was teaching. Okay, so you guys have been there. Have you? Or you just know Shepard?
No.
Gonna tell you a story, cause dinner's just about here, I'll
It
bet
is
you.
here.
Okay, just before we go to dinner, cause this is gonna crack you up. I took the arson class, okay, cause I'm an investigator, I gotta take arson classes every so often. Every 3 years, I have to have so many hours to keep my investigator license, okay? So we were in his class, and he decides he's gonna go out, this is at Emmitsburg. We're gonna go out and we're gonna blow up some things.
I like it already.
Okay, so they go out and they got a gun that shoots water and it detonates stuff in briefcases and suitcases. They have a gun they can set there 12 gauge and they can detonate it a ways back, blows up whatever's in the suitcase. Anyway, Shipper decides he's gonna do the wall of fire. So he's got det cord hung across 4 or 5 fence posts out there. And in the middle, well, there was 2 spots, had a little bag of gasoline hanging. So we're getting all ready to do it, and we're all standing back, and Kinkle, he was the fire marshal at the time. He comes up, he goes, everybody ready? So he gives out the command, fire in a hole, fire in a hole, fire in a hole, and he hits the button. And he had way too much gas and way too much det cord, because when it went off, it shook windows in the college, it set off all the car alarms over in the parking lot. It was funnier than heck. If you ever get a chance to see that, it's really cool. But it just instant wall. You can't see nothing, it's just fire. And it's all from the couple little bags of gas and that det cord. But he had it all over everything.